fun in what you're doing, right?
Absolutely. It's important to have fun. And it's, if you're talking about mental health, if you are in a role or doing something you really don't like and you're trapped in that, for corporate life or, responsibilities, financial responsibilities, it's a worse place to be.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a prison, right? It's like a
totally.
prison, and there's no handcuffs. No one took you there by the, in the back of a police car. There were no arrests. You
Yeah,
surrendered. You surrendered willingly, and every day.
yeah.
Um, so, Mike, welcome to the Jar Foundation podcast. Thanks for being a guest, and
Thanks,
hello to everybody or anybody that's going to listen or see this.
thanks, Ken. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, hello everyone.
Yeah. So the foundation podcast is really a show where I'm bringing in people, that are either experienced some mental health, in the industry, either from a, patient standpoint or an advocate or a creator, somebody trying to solve problems, like Mike and his team, um, people making policy, people raising money, people throwing money, around at the problem, trying to figure out where to put it and, make the right bets so they can make the most impact. Mike, what are you doing in the industry, in the space, and what are you trying to solve, and how can we all get around it?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the work you're doing, Ken. And
Ken, yeah,
yeah, thank you for allowing me to share my work. We so at Sensi, we measure wellness, and the way we do that, we're measuring the state of the nervous system by
yeah,
measuring movement using the sensors in the smartphone. So
I,
you don't have to buy new hardware. There's a really good sensor that exists inside of your smartphone, and we use that sensor to measure a specific gesture to help you test and identify if the nervous system's in a stress or non-stress state. Also help you to identify things that maybe are a source of stress before they're a problem. And then
okay,
we have personalized mindset techniques that you can use to help you to clear the nervous system and then integrate the stress as wisdom, because that's what a lot of it is it has wisdom and information, it has intelligence for
yeah,
us.
yeah.
And then it helps you track that over time. And we're doing it with the device everyone already has, their smartphone. So you don't have to buy new
That's
hardware.
genius.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
That is genius. Now, how though? I mean, I met this guy in India, and he had worked for all the phone techs, telco,
Mm.
and he was an engineering kind of a brain guy, very smart guy, also a genius marketer. And he told me stuff about the iPhone that it could measure, which terrified me.
Yeah.
Like, they know when you pick it up and you flip it, when you
Yeah.
pick it up and don't flip it, when you pick it up and flip it, what image appears, and when you flip it back, how fast. Like,
Yeah.
like there was stuff like he was telling me he read it. He took about 30 seconds. It was spoke so fast. I was just like, and
Yeah.
so that sounds like it's true. If you can measure
Yeah.
yeah, my
Yeah, we can measure your
stress.
mind. Yeah, we can measure your state of mind through movement, and instead of us measuring it and using it, we're giving the information back to you, because that's like the real challenge with mental health is the state of mind.
Yeah,
And so much of the time, historically, state of mind we've looked at here, but modern research,
yeah,
significant amounts about it. Yeah, it's the body. It's the body,
yeah,
and I mean it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing, but
yeah. It's the whole thing.
a lot of the time the problem occurs here, for a lot of complex reasons. But to your question about sensors, yeah, the sensors in the smartphone are highly sensitive, and we utilize that to measure a gesture and identify the state of your nervous system.
Interesting. You mentioned something about the chat, like the nervous system, like the stress being. I've felt that before, like when I'm super stressed, like a constriction almost, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like I don't know if it's my fibers or it's pretty deep. It's like a deep muscle.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the the stress response of the central nervous system
Yeah,
utilizes a couple channels. There's a chemical channel and there's a neuromuscular channel. There's an electrical channel. And so when the stress response hits, there's a cascading series of events that happens throughout the body. And the one you're pointing to is typically tension.
yeah,
So muscle tension is one of the things that happens when we're stressed. Immediately, muscle tension happens, and it's there to support us, because when we're stressed, the body's gone into a fight or flight. It's like, ah, and so it's wanting us to be able to attack, or respond. But the problem is, in this modern day, this modern culture, most of the things that are stressing us are like notifications and emails or TV shows. And so we're stuck with that stressor. We're not like fighting saber-tooth tigers anymore.
yeah.
And so,
Hey, yeah, there was a time an email from. I mean, I had some bosses and moments in jobs where an email from my boss would cause terror.
For sure. I'm sure we've all been there. Me too, man. You know, terror, anger, you know, as if it's an email, but yet there we are, like,
Absolutely. You're like you said, and your whole, you know, and that's what I felt is like that, like just oh man, that's some super,
yeah,
you know, your whole, like you said, your body's hugging itself, trying to go, it's okay, man. You're gonna
yeah,
you're gonna. So, I mean, this seems like you guys have the product. It's in market.
It's in a private beta right now. So
it's in a private beta. Okay.
yeah, so we're working to develop and get it out. But it's in a private beta at the moment. So.
And who's the target? What's the audience or the client, or do you have a specific start? Like, you know, to start with a certain type of people and roll it out?
We're starting what we're calling mindset, and mindset, underneath mindset, so there's like sort of two verticals that we're going after. One is on the healing side, so healing trauma, you know, and pain and frustration, and then on the other side is performance. And to me, they're really one thing, because like we've all experienced, as someone in the culture, in the corporate space, we've all had that experience where like you're trying to work and you can't work because you've got something going on.
Yeah.
You know, and so that, you know, trauma is sort of to me, it's a relative term, and trauma is when we have a stressor, when we have a
it could be right, it could be anything.
Trauma. Sometimes we think trauma is like, oh, you know, my dad killed my mom. It's like, no. It could be as simple as like you didn't get the car you wanted as a kid, you know, and you're still carrying some pain from that.
I've started to get my head around this. Like, I just met a gentleman who talked about medical PTSD.
Yeah.
You know, and that's trauma, right? Trauma from so many different, you know, every time you went to the doctor or hospital.
That's a big one, especially on surgery. They're really learning a lot about what surgery does to, it's a really big one.
Yeah, he was talking about, he said, man, you know, I did not realize it till we started talking about it. He's like, oh yeah, man, I'm terrified of that stuff. And the guy's like, let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. And he says, we started unpacking it. He's like, he goes, that's crazy. Like I've been through some stuff in the hospital. And he's like, I didn't realize it was still kind of bouncing around in my head.
Yeah. And that's a thing.
In his body.
We know the term muscle memory, right?
Yeah,
We're really starting to learn, like, oh, it really has a lot of memory.
He said it was really in his body, not his mind. Right? I'm sorry. The correction was, the memory was there, but the trauma was holding, kind of the muscle was kind of holding on to the pain and gripping onto it.
For sure. A
really interesting area for me. And how's your app going to work then? I mean, if I'm because how does it have not a beta, but like a baseline, right? Your baseline is tense. What if because you're going to have different kind of people, you know, baselining, right? You're going to have somebody that's, you know, you're going to get a monk from the Hindus, from the Highland Mountains, you know, some guy, and he's going to have zero stress, and you're going to get some corporate executive. How do you baseline that thing?
Yeah.
Or does it know?
It's a good question. Yeah, we baseline it. Everyone gets a personalized baseline. Also, I just noticed we have a guest, my mama made it. So I just want to say hi to her.
My mama made it.
Yeah.
She was a great guest. I interviewed her at her lemonade stand in a mall. Yeah. In a mall in Minot, North Dakota.
Nice.
So yeah, she's one of my original guests.
That's so cool.
Hi, Mama. She's great, and she has a great story. South Central. I mean, she's an amazing woman.
That's so cool. The question about baseline.
Yeah.
You learn the gestures when you come into the product. The gesture is very simple. It prompts you to think about a topic, and you just do a 1, 2, 3. And we measure the balance of the hand, wrist, and forearm when you do that gesture. And after you learn the gesture, you calibrate Sensi. And when you calibrate Sensi, it says it's a one-time setup. You can go back and do it anytime you want, but it's a one-time setup. Right. So it says, how are you currently feeling? You pick the emotion. I'm feeling joy. What are you thinking about? I'm talking to friends. So I select I'm thinking friends. And then it says, do you feel tension in your body? Yes, no. Say no. Now it says, okay, well, feeling joy, thinking of friends. Feel that feeling. Do the gesture. I swipe. I go 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
and I do that 3 times. And then I do a breathing exercise. And then after that breathing exercise, it then says, now pick an emotion that's the opposite of what you just felt. So now you select, I was in a joyful state. Now I have to select a stressful state. So fear or anger while thinking of politicians. Do you feel tension? Yes. It says now, feeling anger while thinking of politicians. Feel that and embody it in the gesture in 1, 2, 3. And I do that 3 times. And then we have a baseline for what your movement looks like in a positive state and a negative state. And then we give you that data back. So we give you a little data from that, which gives you it's called a self-awareness assessment, which measures your emotional awareness, your body awareness, like were you able to do the gesture consistently, and your resilience awareness. So it scores those three, which are the three things that are really important for mental health and like where I am. So because our awareness can be really condensed through cognitive load. So all the screens that we're taking in, all the information we're taking in can compress our capacities, which can compress. So we can have periods of time, no matter how awake you are, how woke you are, we can have times where our awareness is under so much compression because all the information we're taking in and like our body awareness is down, our emotional awareness is down, and we're not aware of it, totally not aware of it. And this typically leads to like bad behaviors where all of a sudden we're doing things we don't know why we're doing them. You know, like people who can't break diets.
Yeah, of course, right.
Yeah, it's because our awareness is like significantly compressed.
That's really, man.
So
keep going.
Well, so then we use that data. Then when you go into a session, you can test different statements. So you can make statements like you can check if your movement routine supports you. You know, are my intimate relationships optimal? You know. And we also have a very simple check-in, which is for, am I ready? Am I ready for this meeting? Am I ready for, you know, to go be a dad? I do that a lot before I go home to be with my kids, make sure I clear the workplace stress so I'm present with them. And you just, you know, you read the sentence, you do the gesture, and then it takes the session data and compares it to the calibration data to see if you're in a blocked or flowing state, a stress or non-stress state.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for adding us to the video.
I'm kind of learning. I'm becoming a little radio host over here.
Very, very cool. It's a cool tool, man. This thing works really well.
It's a great tool, and there's a lot more I can do with it. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but yeah.
That's
this is a very. I mean, this must be. How did you end up in this role? How did you find this? What was the journey?
I had a concussion I had a traumatic brain injury from a car accident where I had an out-of-body experience when I was like 19, and I watched the body move around without me.
What?
And, and I was in like a samadhi state. I was in a very loving, deeply loving state of awareness, and you know, there was a huge car accident, and so it was like very strange because I'm like in this state of pure loving awareness, and like all this chaos
and there's chaos below you.
Yeah, and I'm watching the body walk around without me. So like. And I had amnesia. I didn't know who I was or where I was, and I had problems with short-term memory recall for a long period of time. And I was told that I would never recover. I met a hippie guy who taught me how to meditate, and in a 6-month window of time for meditating, my brain recovered and my life took off. And I got involved in technology companies and technology startups, and while doing technology, I was always really passionate about the neuroscience, really spiritual neuroscience, and like Eastern philosophies, around movement, you know, like how it was possible what I experienced.
Yes, yeah.
And so the combination of my work in software and technology startups combined with my personal interest for Sensi. So that's where we are. Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. It's for sure. Yeah, thank you for saying that because it has been.
What a gift, right?
Yes,
I mean, perspective is so powerful.
That's it right there. And that's really what we're trying to do with Sensi is help us all to see that, help myself because it's so easy to lose it. It's so easy to lose that perspective, and that's really what I believe good mental health is. Just this awareness of how I'm viewing things, you know, and we're moving at such a fast rate that it's very easy to lose track of it. You know, it's like
it really is. This would be, such a great combination. The tool would be, the Sensi app would be such a great combination with some of the other, like maybe real, like not say face-to-face, not face-to-face therapy, but maybe people who are doing, remote online. Right. And, you either, because it would just go so hand in hand, have your own self-awareness, your own body awareness. There's tools you can get from another human that can kind of help you cope with other stuff. But what a great combination. How about for kids? This seemed like for high schoolers.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that like what a market?
Yeah. Especially around learning. We've talked to some of the NFL about this. And like one of the biggest issues I don't think is that often talked about is kids who are poor learners, like it's such a simple way to cover up a very complex thing, and a lot of times that can be right under the hood is when someone's stressed, especially the child, when they're stressed, it's impossible to learn. Like the brain is not able to preserve information. Like
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and so you've got this scenario where we're in right now, and I'm very interested in the student market. It's second to what we're currently doing. But I'm really interested in the student market because you have this scenario of kids on social media, on TikTok, and like that whole thing is like designed to breed stress. I mean, it can be a great tool, but some of the algorithms are always missing, content that's conflicting or it creates tension. And
I don't think there's anything in the algorithm that spells calm.
That's it, man. That's
chaos.
But so these poor kids, they're absorbing all this information. On top of that, they've got a ton of workload. They've got the family stuff. They've got what they got going on. It's a lot. And so having this tool that we're developing, and the thing that I'm really excited about is that the interventionalists that are being put into our product, we call Mindset Pros, they're some of the most effective remedies on Earth. And they're
is it like a little bit CBT? Is it? It's kind of like
similar.
Just kind of stopping the kind of the exaggerations.
Yeah. So really going into it. So let me go backwards one step. Where we sit right now, we don't know collectively. There's no consensus on how to measure wellness, on how to measure it as staying healthy. And there's no consensus on what techniques work best for what audiences. Those are two really big problems. That's what we're going after. And so to that extent, we've identified a whole network of interventionalists, mindset pros, who have techniques that are really basically neuroscience, which help a person to go into the trauma and alter the memory of it. And then in the process of altering the memory of it, also reprogram the memory, and then also extract wisdom, like what
the wisdom from it.
Yeah, because it has a purpose for you. It's there.
Yes.
So it's not about stopping, denying, repressing. It's about welcoming it as, okay, this is it. And by the way, this is a set. Like, I'm not, if someone's beating somebody or there's some kind of like that's a very different scenario. I'm talking about a person who's carrying PTSD, who's carrying from the work they're trying to do because of some sort of emotion.
If you're in something, in the middle of something, obviously nothing's going to help you until you get out of it.
Right. And then once you're out of it, now how do you reconcile with it?
Right, and understand this is where you're sweet. This is your spot.
Yeah, that's it. Just to clarify, because I'm very compassionate.
Understand.
Who are in different scenarios. So yeah.
Really,
yeah.
I think this. I like the idea that you turn it into wisdom. The lessons, right? These lessons in life, these experiences in life, which, currently we kind of dredge up and re-talk about. And it's how do you close that? Take a little something from it, put the rest down the garbage disposal, whatever it is we do with the other part. But I like the idea that grabbing something out of that and saying, here's the wisdom. Here's how we learn from that and grow from it.
Yeah. And then in that experience, helping a person to see their body differently, helping them to see the feelings of their body as a form of their depth of their intelligence.
Yes.
Because that's really the challenge is our feelings are a significant part of our intelligence, especially in the realm of keeping us healthy. It's a biometric for our state of health or its ease.
This is so cool. So I want to come. There was a thought that I had lost. You mentioned something earlier, which is interesting. There is no 120/80, 68 beats a minute, 98.6, right? So for mental health, we don't know what those you're pretty good health.
That's right.
But
That's right.
I mean, do you think the Sensi app can ultimately do that? Is that it sounds to me like you're going to be able to measure that level of things I'm holding on to and what gets me excited to what degree and what calms me to what degree. And that might be a pretty good baseline, a real baseline, to a real baseline of what humanity a state we should be in.
Right. That's exactly it. That's what we're after is sort of inverting the model from looking at all the illness and disease to like, oh, here's your health baseline. So now deviating from that, you can reconcile, come back up to it.
Yeah. What's good look like? We don't know.
Yeah. Right. And so, and I think it's a really important thing, and what's beautiful about it too, that like in my learnings that I've learned in the process, is we've worked with some amazing scientists and a lot of great institutions, is it's really at the crossroad of trusting oneself. A lot of it comes down to that. And what we measured in the gesture, I mean, a lot of our research was on beat in the early days, so it's true and false statements. It's the neuromechanics of trust. And if you look at any of the mental illnesses, it's like, that's typically what happens. It's like you stop trusting something.
It's pretty low.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to establish healthy relationships if I can't trust myself. And this realm we're in is one that's very contingent, or it's important to have good relationships. And so, starting to cultivate this trust in my own self so that I can have good relationships with yourself and other people,
Yeah. I wonder if that crossroads, I wrote a book, and one of the chapters I cover thoughts that covers love, and I'm heavily dependent upon self-love as a base. Without self-love, any other love is kind of broken, or doomed for sure, until you get that self-love, because you can't really love somebody. It's dependent. Right. So it's dependent love, or it's kind of built in sand because you don't love yourself.
Right.
You can't really accept love because you're not worthy. You haven't figured that part out. And you certainly can't show anybody. You can't teach love to anybody.
Right.
Because you're not really sure what it is. You haven't figured out how to reconcile with yourself. So I wonder if there is that, if you've got this kind of holding on to the stuff you're talking about there, you can't trust yourself. How can you love yourself if you can't trust yourself too?
Oh, and what you really got your hand on the crux of it, which is loving anger, hatred, fear, sadness. That is self-love, where the opposite path of like, I'm in fear, so let me get on Instagram, let me drink, let me smoke, I'm on the side of it, I'm now kind of drifting away. And it's difficult because you can't speak in absolutes, because like to some extent those things might be healthy in terms of whatever you're doing in the world, but it comes to like living the holistic lifestyle and wanting to find balance, it's helpful to have the understanding of like, oh, there's something in these feelings I don't want to feel that's important for me, in relation to me maintaining my base.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Even maybe like I said, the step one more away from self-love, the other thing getting in that way is the trust. And you haven't got that. And if you're holding, if something is in that chest, right, you got a lot of this trauma you're holding on to different spots of your body. And to your point about the trust part. Maybe so it does make sense. So too, a lot of people I meet that don't love themselves have got some trauma in their life, right? There's stuff you look at it, they've had trauma.
For sure.
It's due to something in their life they didn't really control, and they haven't figured it out yet.
I mean, honestly, I believe like it seems that, I don't know if this is true or not, but it seems that to some extent, if you're alive, you probably have some trauma. I think often we get in these conversations, we always think it's out there, and it's like, man, I don't have it,
we're in here pontificating, and hey, I'm sure between us we got a suitcase or two full.
Yeah. I think what's really cool about that, I have a yogi who talks about grief, and like how grief, when we're in a relationship to it, becomes a connector. So you could be a billionaire, and I could be a hobo on the street. Grief is grief, And so it becomes this like social fabric, and so when we share the grief in healthy ways, it becomes a fabric of really binding us together in our humanity.
Oh, it really is. I mean, it's that crosses right across, goes right across socioeconomic, right through the fabric. It's a real thing. How long are you going to be in beta? You have any timelines?
We're fundraising right now. We have 4 or 5 interventions now, and we have them all designed. We're just getting them engineered in, and we're just in the process of closing our seed round to help us to get interventions in, and closing a couple of pilots as well. So aiming for the end of Q2 to have it out. We also closed the partnership with Johns Hopkins Biomedical AI Lab, which is really excited about. So
I would imagine yeah, you start to get some, I'm sure there's going to be people who want to attach to your tech because you're in part of the stream, almost like the cure, the wellness stream, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If there's steps to wellness in a journey, do you feel like you're an end-to-end piece, or do you feel like you fit in somewhere, or where do you fit in this kind of journey for someone's mental health?
Yeah. I mean, the opportunity in my mind that we're going after is at some point in our evolution, we were all walking around holding our teeth. Oh, my teeth hurt. And then somebody was like, oh, you brush your teeth and there's an invisible plaque and, it goes away. And to me, it's the same thing with our emotional well-being. There's some sort of like invisible plaque, which as you articulated earlier, it shows up in tension. We feel it and we can carry it with us, not be aware of it. Yeah. And so to me, there's this, daily hygiene, weekly hygiene of connecting to myself and check in and make sure that I am in the state that I want to be in, and consciously cultivating this relationship with my mind so that I am living the life I love. And so we're going after the consumer, and we're also opening up our algorithms so that we can share them with other applications, because the mind is so complex. So I'm sure that's one of the ways the algorithms can be used, and so we're going to be looking at applications.
Very interesting. And so I guess I'm still on that kind of that part of the question, right? I guess there's a trauma, and I'm trying to figure out, you guys fit in here, and it's a constant usage. So no matter what happens, and where do you bounce out to get? Like what if I feel like I need a therapist, right? Let's say I've got the device. I'm a young kid. I'm a teenager. I get on the program. 7 years later, I get to a situation where I've been using the app and everything's good, but now it's telling me, and I know what happened to me. I think I need help.
Right.
And then you kind of bounce out, get treatment, and come back in together. Yeah. How do you see it going? Like something like somebody's journey.
Yeah, we built a coaching dashboard, and so the coaching/therapy dashboard. And so let's just say, theoretically, I'm your coach, therapist. What happens is I send you a link, and it's it actually opens the Sensi app on your phone, and it says, do you want Mike as your coach or therapist? You say yes, and it says, you want to share data with me? Yes.
Okay, got it.
I, as your coach therapist, can actually author packs of self-inquiry, so questions.
Yeah.
I share them with you, and now you have the ability in your own time outside of our session together to learn how to self-regulate, self-cope, and to do the work. And then on my side, I can see how you're doing, how your progress is tracking, and when you come in for a session, really truly understand your true emotional need, so that we can go deeper together in our one-on-one time.
That is okay. So it's a really good tool set for a therapist. Holy cow. Okay, now I see that side of it as well.
Yeah, we wanted to support sort of like a new therapy model, where empowering really great therapists to do more without having to work as much,
I mean, there are once you see a few thousand people, like a BetterHelp, let's say you're a BetterHelp therapist, and you're young and you start off there, and man, after a couple of years, you've seen more than most therapists in the olden days, air quote olden days. You've got 2 years, you got 10 years experience in 2 years, I would imagine, right? Because you're just you're seeing people from the phone, and it's rapid fire. You're seeing everything under the sun,
for sure.
So man, if I could dial in, because I now need, I'm more skilled now, and if I had better tools, I could absolutely provide better help with, like you said, without doing some of the silly stuff, like the background ass. I could see, geez, Ken, last weekend, it looks like, when you were doing the exercises, you looked like you were super tense. What happened last weekend? Holy cow. So let's talk about that. You're like, my girlfriend showed up, and, it was pretty ugly, and, okay. Then I don't need to probe with 20 questions. I can go straight to what happened on Saturday night.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. We know exactly now. It's like, here it is. Yeah, and then helping them to expand around that, extract.
Then you can spend time on the right stuff. Yeah, I can see this be a very powerful tool for a therapist.
Yeah, thank you.
And then definitely, like you said, I love how did the idea come to you at one point? Was it thunderstruck or accidental or?
It's funny. Almost all of them. I was some high growth technology startups, and after one of them, I kind of had like a mental breakdown, and it was just so stressful. And then I went and did a yoga teacher training, and this is back in 2012, I think, 2013. And when doing the yoga training, I did a training with an amazing guy named Ian Finn. And while we were doing that, he's been teaching over 30 years. I had this awareness of like, hey, we need to apply technology to some of these advanced principles in the yoga philosophies, because the yoga to me is actually really is proper healthcare. It's just so powerful. What
it's
it can do for your
very
health.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And healthcare is staying healthy. Let me just clarify that. But anyway, so I said that to him then, and so the seed was initially planted there, and then I came back from that and started a tech. I'm part of a group that does small investments in early stage tech companies.
Okay.
And as a part of that group, the chairman of that group made me CEO of this corporate partnership we did, partnership with a large cruise line. And I was CEO of that initiative, and he brought in a technical founder who was our CTO, Thomas Gersten. And we built the first biometric payment solution, so you could transfer the blink of an eye. And Thomas is the former AI gesture recognition lead for Alex Connect. And so Thomas and I were building, it was called BK. And when we were building that, we talked a lot about why hasn't technology been applied to spiritual principles, and to take the language out of it so people can directly experience the feel.
Yeah.
And from that conversation, he kept on talking about muscle testing. And he's an incredibly smart guy. And when he was talking, it was super woo-woo. And I was like, man, if you're so smart, let's measure this, And I kind of like bet him, it was kind of and it was like 6 years.
You called them out? Like,
yeah, like, smart. And you believe so much in this. Like, let's.
You're talking about your ass. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah, let's go. And we did, we did like 9 preclinical trials, and the first 2 were extraordinarily successful, and we had ones after that were successful as well, except for one. And there's been a lot of research. We did a lot of R&D to get it started out.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So the journey is really you're almost 10 years from kind of that beginning of the journey.
When the new seed was planted. Yeah.
Yeah. When the seed was planted.
Yeah. It's been a ride. It's been a really wild ride, and I'm grateful for the whole thing, for sure.
I mean, interesting. You've already done at least one other project in the middle.
I do. Yes. Here and there, I do a project here and there to help cash in, and then I also do some coaching on the side for like professional athletes and CEOs. But I do like 2 or 3. I won't do 3 clients at a time.
Yeah. CEOs are heavy. It's heavy lifting.
Yeah. Professional athletes even more so. But both. Yeah.
I love that. Fantastic story. I mean, really appreciate, Mike, your time and appreciate the just sharing with everybody the journey. And
I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's so cool. The Jar, awesome project. So thank you.
Thanks. Well, I'm on my way down to. I'm going to St. Petersburg. I don't know if you're on that.
Oh,
are you?
I'm in Tampa. I'm like 30 minutes. I'm actually on the beach. I'm like 30 minutes north of the sea.
Oh, how about coming on the Jar with me?
Yeah, man, for sure.
It would be so much fun. Get you on this. That would be cool to meet and to get you on the Jar and sit down and get you to pull the questions and kind of see a different side of the story.
You're hosting it in St. Pete.
Oh, I physically drive everywhere, 111 cities.
That's amazing.
So I'm in Atlanta. I'm headed to Savannah for 4 days, a couple of days and then I go on the 30th, and then I go to Jacksonville, and then I'm driving down to St. Pete's.
That's so cool, man.
I'll get you a link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll get you a link. We'll find some time. This would be worst case. Let's get a coffee and a breakfast, something.
Yeah.
Love to meet you. And this app, like I said, I've interviewed quite a few, not a lot, 15-ish people, but this is really promising to me.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Really promising.
We've got some really great partnerships that we're in the process of closing right now to really take up. So
I hope, man, I hope it goes smooth so you're not too stressed. Don't be burning out this time. You can't be.
That's actually been the irony of this project. Whenever I'm stressed, like nothing happens, and so like the whole project like forces me to like slow down, so that things will happen. So it's been a blessing.
You could be a serial entrepreneur, but not a serial stressor. You gotta,
no, I think those days are done.
Absolutely. Kind of be that guy outside the body, looking down at yourself, and just have some perspective on what's going on, where you're at, how lucky you are.
Amazing. That is really good advice right there. Constantly reviewing how lucky we are. We're blessed.
And just that third person view is a blessing.
Yeah, it's so true. Just a quick question for you. What would you like to see for the Jar Foundation? Just so we have that out here.
Yeah. So it's great. I'm in that process where I'm building, I think the foundation is a place where I can help people who I've met along the way, who are trying to turn their moments of mental health issues into something positive. And I've had a couple people that are either starting yoga, kind of little small groups or sessions, or becoming a teacher, and they're focusing on a mental health aspect. So that physical part of getting it out. I met a lady in one of the cities who, her life was pretty hard. And at the end of it, she's taken every dollar she had, and she didn't have much money, starting a storefront, a place where people could come and talk and get help, get to a clinic. She was dealing with drug users falling on and off. So that mental health people. So I just felt, kind of compelled that I see people, I'm a connector of people, and, I'm doing the Jar, and I'm all in on the Jar. That's out of my own pocket. And I was just doing this to see where it took me. No. And I've kind of found, this is, I think, what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to build a training company around this as well, because I believe there's a lot of, so kind of what you're doing is this training methodology, right? Self-training. And I really believe there's a lot more, we can do a lot more help. We're not going to get doctors in offices and doctors on the end of a phone call tomorrow.
Right.
It's not going to happen. We don't have enough. We're 30 or 40% capacity is the fill compared to the need. And that's old data. It's probably 20% of what we need, maybe 10%. So we need tools in people's hands to teach themselves. And I think there's a training opportunity there, workplaces, especially in workplaces, to teach people how to do stuff, training and interpersonal, not just the personal development. So I wanted the Jar Foundation to help fund, in the beginning, I need some money to grassroots fund the Jar to keep doing this, get rid of the stigma, have the conversations around mental health with people, share their stories so people can see them, and then use that money to build out these two organizations. They become not-for-profits and spin back into the foundation. I'm going to create a closed ecosystem.
Amazing. Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm on that grind. And so I just got my pitch deck together. First thing I need is some hotel sponsors. Alleviate some of my, my biggest burn is room and board.
Yeah.
The team and stuff is small. I have a pretty light footprint. And so it's starting to get out there and find some sponsors, so I can keep the journey going. I burnt the boats. I'm all in, baby. Probably like you.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you, we're all in.
Yeah, it's all in on it. That's for sure. Well, as we grow, maybe we can circle back and help you. But right now we won't get to you. But as revenue starts coming in, for sure.
You guys you'll need every dollar you can, man. If software, software, one iteration takes another iteration, takes another. And
it's a living entity,
And it's a living entity. I'm sure you're going to need every dollar you can scrape together. I'm going to see you in Tampa.
Looking forward to it.
I'm going to see you in Tampa. I'll shoot you a note.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Let me forget. I thought we were still going live. We're having a great personal chat. Let me end